Hey, what's up, dude? My name's Jim. I work with your mom. She probably, I don't know, maybe she told you I was going to do this. Your mom is, she talked to me about you want to learn how to play guitar, which, man, hearing that somebody wants to learn how to do it, it just makes me so happy. So you got an acoustic. That's an awesome first step. You'll notice I'm playing an electric. I do have an acoustic back here. I haven't changed the strings on it in, God, I don't even know how long. I don't know, the kind of music that I play, it asks for an electric guitar, and that's all there is to that. So there aren't many differences between an acoustic and electric. All the stuff on the neck, the frets and the notes and all that stuff, it's all the same. There are a few subtle differences. For example, it's kind of harder to bend a note on an acoustic guitar. The strings are usually wound a lot tighter. And it's not to say that you can't do it. It's a lot easier on an electric. But I think the biggest hurdle that we're going to try and focus on for you is trying to find some things that you can do on an acoustic guitar that appeal to the type of music that you want to learn how to play. Usually when I would imagine that when you think about an acoustic guitar, you think of like James Taylor and folk music and, you know, all this other hippie stuff. Not the case at all. I have seen plenty of people do some really cool shit on an acoustic guitar, so don't think that it can't be done. This mark on my head, it's Ash Wednesday. I don't have some weird birthmark or whatever. I actually came back from the hospital. My sister had surgery today, so I had the day off. I got back a little earlier than I planned. It's about 2 o'clock, so I figured I'd put this video together for you. First thing I want to stress to you is tuning your guitar, or tuning your instrument. It is fundamental in learning how to play. If you don't have a properly tuned guitar, you are going nowhere. Especially when you get into reading music and reading tablature and stuff. If your guitar's not in tune, you might as well reinvent the instrument. So what I'm going to do is I'll play each note for you slowly. Grab your acoustic, dust it off, listen to each note that I play. I'll tell you which string it is, what note it's supposed to be, and just, tune up your knobs until you get the right pitch in line with what I'm playing for you. We'll start out with the one closest to your fattest string. On the top, that's your low E string. The next one down is your A. And then the one below that, the third string from the top, that's your D string, D like dog. Next one, the fourth one from the top, that's your G string, G like golf. And then the second one from the bottom, or your fifth one from the top, that's your B string, B like boy. And then the last one, the sixth one, this is all the way at the bottom, that's your high E. You'll notice you have two E's, one's low, one's high. This is a high one. You're probably going to have to pull up this video a couple of times. I know I've talked a lot already, and there's a little meat before you get to the actual tuning part. But keep watching this video every time you pick up your guitar. Listen to that, a little bit, tune your guitar up, and then we can get moving along. Let me just give you a little trick to kind of do this on your own. You're going to have a starting point. You'll need to find at least your low E string, or the low E note. If you have a keyboard or a piano or a pitch pipe or really anything that'll give you a solid E note, if you can get that first low E string, base it against something so you know for sure that it's an E, That's all you need. The rest of it, I'll show you. You probably know on your guitar all up along the neck, these little metal things, those are called frets. When somebody says to fret a note or to put your finger on a particular fret, they don't mean to put your finger right on that metal part. That's really important to learn when you're starting out because it could mess you all up. What you want to do is put your finger just to the left of that fret. Right now we're working on the 5th fret of your your low E string, the one closest to you, the big fat one. On your 5th fret, you want to put your finger just to the left of it without going over that metal bar, the actual fret itself. That's considered the 5th fret of your low E string. Another thing that's important, make sure to get a good wrap around and curl your finger. You want just the tip of your finger on that 5th fret because you don't want your finger, the fat from your finger, to kind of muffle that A string just below. You want that to be able to ring out clear. Those two notes, they sound exactly the same. So that's what you're doing. The 5th fret on your E string is that's an A, the same note that your 2nd string is supposed to be. So I'll just give you an example. We'll throw that out of tune. That A, it's no longer an A. I don't know, it's probably something lower than that. This is your low E with the 5th fret fingered. So that's an A. And then the string right below it should sound identical to it. So you want to tune that up so they sound exactly the same. You can tell that A is way lower, so we got to tune it up. If you take your thumb and your first finger and just kind of pinch those two strings or pluck them together, they should sound the same. With your finger on the 5th fret of the E string and your open A string, they should sound identical. So now you have two strings in tune. You already found your E, however you managed to do it, and now you just tuned your A string. So you've got your E and A, those are all set. Now we're going to go down the strings. We're going to tune up the rest of them. On your A string, the second one down, exact same thing. You're just going to fret the 5th note, the 5th fret on that one. That should be based against your open D string, the one just below it. They should sound exactly the same. Just to give an example, I'll kick that D out of tune. That's no longer a D. So now we got to tune it up. I'm putting my finger on the 5th fret of the A string, and I want to tune that D up until it sounds exactly like that 5th fret on the A. The two together, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. Going further, now you have 3 strings in tune, your low E, your A, and your D string. So on your D string, moving down, same exact thing. You put your finger on the 5th fret of your D string, and then you're going to pluck the open G. And now it actually sounds a little bit high, so I'm going to tune that one down a little bit. My G is in tune. Here's where you mix it up a little bit. On your G string, you're actually going to fret the 4th fret instead of the 5th, and you're going to bass that against your open B string. See how those sound exactly the same? That means it's in tune. Now going to the next string on your B, you're going right back to the 5th fret. And you're going to bass that against your open high E string. Now it actually sounds like it's a little bit low. There we go. Now the whole guitar is in tune. You don't have to worry about that high E because there's no string below it that has to be tuned. So now all your strings are in tune. All you have to remember is on your E string, E, A, D, those are all the 5th fret. Your G string is a weird one, that's the 4th fret, and then your B string, you're going right back to the 5th. So it's 5th, 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 4th, 5th, going from top to bottom. As long as you can keep those sounding the same, you might have to do it a couple of times. It takes practice. It took me quite a while to get it, but that's a lot of ear training. And I'll explain that a little bit later. If there's anything important about tuning in particular, close is not good enough. You want it right on the money. Because it's kind of discouraging, especially when you're a new guitarist or new musician. If you're playing a song that you know, you've heard it, time and time again, you know the way it sounds in your head, and you're trying to play it so that it sounds just like the CD or just like the video or whatever, and if your guitar is out of tune even slightly, it's not going to sound the same, and it's going to make you want to take your guitar and say, screw it, I can't get it, this is too hard, and your guitar is going to sit in the corner of your room until you pile up a bunch of dirty laundry and the thing is just no good. Trust me, I learned that from experience myself. So we'll move past the tuning. Just another quick thing I want to tell you. Your mom said you have an iPod. I don't know if you have an Android phone or a smartphone. Whatever it is, there are apps all over the place that you can download guitar tuners. I have actual guitar tuners in like each of my cases. I have them built into some of my pedals. They're really handy to have, man. Especially the apps. I have one on my phone. It's called G-Strings, G-Strings Guitar Tuner. Download that one. It's a free app. That'll help you keep your guitar in tune. It has an explanation of how to use it. It's fairly self-explanatory. If you have trouble with it or you don't understand it, tell your mom, I'll give you a call, or you can give me a call, or whatever you want to do, and I'll explain it to you. There's another one called Guitar Tuna, T-U-N-A, like the fish. That's also a pretty good one, and it's a free app too. There are plenty of them out there. Those are not by a long shot the only two out there. There's tons of guitar tuning apps, and apps to tune really whatever instrument you want. So get hold of those. They're very, very handy to have. Just another couple of quick things you'll notice in this video. We're not getting into playing Van Halen stuff or Ozzy or anything like that. I want this video to be more just to explain some stuff to you and give you an idea of what you can expect, and it just give you a good block to start from. Holding your pick, very rudimentary lesson. I usually have, let's say if I'm pointing my thumb directly at you, I have my pick facing the pointiest part of it is facing the 45-degree or perpendicular to it. So when you're strumming, you want to keep your thumb kind of parallel with your strings, and then the pointy part of your pick should be pointing directly at your guitar. It's going to help you get a good bite and get some good meat. When you attack the strings, when you're strumming, things like that. Ultimately, it's whatever's comfortable for you. If you can get it to sound right and it's comfortable the way you're holding the pick, I have no business telling you to do otherwise. Another thing is, as far as choosing your pick, they come in all different thicknesses or gauges. A lot of that boils down to how much experience you have with that pick. The more you use a particular thickness or gauge, the better you're going to be at it. I can't really say that there's a preference between thin picks versus the thick ones. Sometimes the thick ones are a little better suited to heavy metal type of stuff because it gives you a more chug 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 kind of feel, whereas the thinner picks sound a little more flimsy or hollow sounding. But it depends on what kind of stuff you're trying to play. A lot of speed metal players, they use thin picks, because you can bounce and get some flex off of the string when you're plucking it. These are things that you're really just going to have to experiment with. For myself, I have these great big Gorilla mitts that sweat profusely, and as a result, I tend to go for these picks. This one is a Jim Dunlop Tortex pick. There's a couple different ones. I think they call them Gator Grip picks. I got a few of those back here too. What they are is they have kind of a texture on them. They're not completely smooth and shiny. They're a little bit gritty, so that no matter how sweaty my fingers get, I'm always going to have a good firm grip on my pick. Because especially when you start playing fast stuff and playing heavy duty shit, it's not going to be long before you sweat through it, your pick goes flying, all of a sudden it's somebody's souvenir and you've got to fumble and stop your playing and figure out where to get another pick. That's really just a pain. So you want to avoid that if you can. Another This is, pertains more to fretting your notes and your fret hand mechanics. The very first thing you want to do is imagine on the back of your neck, imagine a line going right down the middle. This is the front, of course, but if you flip it over, imagine there's a line going right down the middle of your neck. That's where you want to put your thumb. You're going to keep your thumb firmly braced right in the middle of the back of the guitar neck, and then wrap your fingers around it. This is going to be really clumsy for you at first. Probably took me at least a good couple of weeks when I was learning how to play to fully get this under my belt, get comfortable with doing it, because your muscles are not used to this kind of movement. A lot of this stuff is repetitive motion. You got to do it for at least a couple of weeks. I found a benchmark for me with muscle memory. Say you're working on a particular finger exercise, trying to get your pinky to work along with you. That is definitely a big one. It probably took me about 6 months before I started putting my pinky on the fretboard, just because you're not used to doing that kind of stuff. Trust me when I say, if you do these things and you work on them diligently, even if it's just like 45 minutes or an hour each day, after you come home from school, flop your ass in front of the TV and just you don't have to play a song, just keep trying to get that motion. Plant your thumb on the middle of the back of your neck, and just try and get four frets in, and maybe move up and down the neck, things like that. If you do that for at least 2 weeks, your muscle in your fingers, they start to memorize the repetitive movement. And before too long, it's not going to be as hard as it was when you first started out. And in fact, usually by the time if you spend a full 2 weeks with at least an hour each day doing that over and over and over, by the time that 2 weeks is done, it's going to be second nature to you. You'll be a pro at it. Trust me, man, this is tried experience. I don't have any formal training. I learned all this on my own, watching YouTube videos. Matter of fact, it's kind of sucks to say this now because it makes me feel old. When I started playing, man, the internet wasn't even invented yet. I had to go to the library and I'd pull up old Guitar World magazines or Guitar One, and they'd have lessons and explanations and tablature and things, and that's how I learned how to play. Just reading those explanations and figuring it all out. It's not easy stuff, man. If it was easy, then everybody would be playing guitar and nobody be able to get the chicks. That's what most of us are in it for anyway. So with your thumb firmly planted on the back, middle of your neck in the back, you want to curl your fingers over, get a good bite at least on that high or low E string rather. You're not going to have to go any higher than that. There are no strings up there. So as long as you can get that low E string, and maybe at first start with some of the higher strings, the ones farthest away from you, it'll be a little easier. And then work your way up, closest to you, because that's really about as hard as it gets. Once you get that stuff under your belt, man, that's a great foundation. You'll be able to start doing a lot of stuff from that point. The other thing, as far as actually putting your fingers on the fretboard, your fingertips, you want to use the very tip of your finger. Like I was saying with the meat paws, I got these great big monsters here. Very tough for us big guys to fret a note clearly without muddying up the strings around it. And that's a good part of having your thumb planted in the back of the neck, because it's going to force you to curl around, get some good arch to your fingers, so you're not, let's say if you were fretting that fifth note on your E string and you're just kind of clamping down on it and the pad of your finger is rubbing up against that A string, you might get a decent sound in A note out of your E string, but the actual A string below it doesn't sound like nothing. So you want to curl that over good so you get the solid sound out of your E string and the solid sound out of the open A. That's just an example that works all over the fretboard anytime you're fretting a note. Unless you intend to grab that string below it, do whatever you got to do to curl your finger and arch your finger over so it's not touching that string below it. Otherwise it's just gonna mess you up. This is extremely important, man, and I know because, don't get it twisted, I might be old and crusty now, but I was a teenager too, and I was all about, messing around outside and, doing grubby stuff, grossing people out, and if there's any one thing I can stress to you, man, because it will just beat the hell out of your guitar, keep your fingers clean, keep your fingernails trimmed. If you have, like this long grubby ass fingernail and you're trying to fret a note, the fingernail is going to bump up against the wood on your fretboard, and you're not going to be able to get a clean bite on that fretted note. Ask your mom. Every time she looks over at me, if I'm on the phone taking a call from a client or something, she'll see me there with toothpicks getting all the crap out from under my fingernails, and I keep clippers with me all the time. They're right on my keychain. I'll snip them up if I got nothing going on. That way, the second I want to pick up my guitar, I don't have to, screw around giving myself a full manicure before I go into playing. I just want to play, man. It's that simple. I don't want to mess around. I don't want games and, having to stop to fix something or, do some crap. I just want to play guitar. That's all there is to it, and I'm sure you do too. So keep your fingers clean. That's going to prevent crap from getting embedded into your strings. I know for myself, man, Cheetos were the big one. Cheetos are my weakness. I'd come home from school and down like half a bag of Cheetos, and before you know it, I got these, the orange fingerprints, and I grab my guitar, and before you know it, the strings were just demolished, ruined. You get crap all over them. It doesn't come off easy. You'll notice on each of these strings there's little bits of wound wire all up and down the string. You get Cheeto crap stuck in there, you might as well hang it up because it's done for. You're not going to be able to get that stuff out. And it makes your strings sound like crap. They don't last nearly as long. You're going to have to, take it and get it restrung, or if you know how to, well, eventually teach you how to string the guitar yourself. But anytime, that's another important part, is anytime you get done playing your guitar, whether you ate Cheetos or not, just the oil from your fingertips is going to get all over your strings, and even just the oil from your fingers is going to start to break down and wear the strings down. So whenever you're done playing, grab like a piece of cheesecloth or a dish rag or, something fairly clean, wipe down your strings, get the whole fretboard good and cleaned off. It'll save you a lot of hassle in the long run, especially when you get a good set of strings on your guitar. If you like them and they suit you well, you want to preserve them as long as you can, because as soon as you take them off and you have to switch them out, it's like starting all over again. Kind of like a good pair of shoes. You got to break them in before they're going to work right for you. If you should get crap on your guitar strings, there are various ways to clean them. For myself personally, I use like Pledge. I'll use that furniture polish to clean the wood on the fretboard. Kind of hesitant to tell you this because I know you're sort of young yet. I don't want to advocate you drinking or anything like that. But in my experience, and I think maybe another bunch of guitar teachers that I know, they recommend the same thing: cheap vodka. If your mom or dad, if they have any of that laying around the house, I would highly recommend asking them and asking for their help, so they can wipe down your strings. If they're dirty, if they're rusty, see if your mom can, or dad can, just dab a little cheap vodka on a rag or something, wipe down your strings for you, let it dry out. That's rubbing alcohol isn't the same. As a matter of fact, rubbing alcohol is a bit worse, because if you use that, it ends up drying out the wood on your fretboard, which will eventually lead it to cracking and drying out, and so you want to avoid that. If you do use rubbing alcohol on your strings, which can be used to clean it, make sure immediately wipe all of it off, and then go over your neck with some good furniture polish, lemon oil, lemon wax, Pledge, things like that. That'll help prevent your neck from drying out and cracking. So let's see. I'm going to kind of wrap this video up. The other thing I want to tell you, and I'm only telling you this because I can really identify with where you are as a musician. You want to play because there are so many benefits to it, man. It makes you look cool whenever you're, in school talking about, The cool stuff that you do, riding dirt bikes and playing sports and, getting into video games and whatever. As soon as you tell somebody you're a musician and you play guitar, especially if you ever have people over at your house, or if you end up going to somebody's house and they have a guitar and you can pick it up and, wail something out, guess what, man? All of a sudden you're the cool kid in town. That's the way it's been ever since I started playing. It wasn't immediate. It's not like I could say, well, I own a guitar, I just don't know what to do with it, so automatically I'm cool. It's not quite that simple. You got to get some chops under your belt, at least get something set up where you can play a song or two, and man, the chicks just come crawling. I don't want to turn you into a ladies' man or something. I'm sure your mom wouldn't be too happy about that. But I mean, that's what a lot of people are in it for. It makes you seem cool. Everywhere I've gone, from the time I was a young teenager when I started out, all the way up until now. I've been in the military before. I've had a bunch of different jobs. I've been in bands and, doing all this stuff. Anytime I've ever said to somebody, or somebody found out that I play guitar, it's all of a sudden they want to see what you can do with it. They want to be amazed by how well you can play, even if it's not that great. If they notice that you put some time into it, you figured out how to do it, man, they want to be a part of what you're doing. They want to see and be a part of that awesomeness. I actually had a roommate in the military that I walked in on one day. He had my guitar around his neck and his shirt off. He didn't know a lick of how to play guitar, but he just wanted to, I don't know, maybe make believe that cool feeling of being on stage and being the front, guitar guy, which I think we all have those daydreams once in a while. It was just kind of funny to walk in on him doing that. The last thing, and I'm not going to like tug at your heartstrings, but I want to make sure that you realize, like I said, my first guitar was an acoustic. It was not a high-end model. It was actually kind of a low-end thing. It was not expensive at all. It wasn't the coolest or flashiest looking guitar. But let this resonate when I say that it was my first guitar. The one that you have, that's your first guitar. Take care of it, man, because you don't get another first guitar. And even though it might not be like, the $1,000 model that you see at Guitar Center, it may not be the electric guitar that you want to, wail out some Slipknot or American Head Charge or whatever kind of, heavy duty shit you're into. Always take care of your first guitar, man. Through my period of growing up, and you've got like a good 10 years in front of you that are going to be tough as hell on you. Learning how to get a job and keep a job and pay for your own stuff and live your own life. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the midst of doing that, man, and it's hard. And in my experience, or what happened to me, is through that whole transition from being a teenager into being an adult, I ended up losing my first guitar, and I really regret that. If I could do anything to get that first guitar back, man, I totally would. And again, it wasn't the greatest thing at all. If I had it here today, I would still be playing this one. But the fact of the matter is, my first guitar, that's the one that I went through war with. Not, real gun war or anything like that, but that's the one I learned on. It was the hardest period in my guitar playing career, or the time I've spent learning how to play guitar was with that particular instrument. Learning guitar is a very tough thing to do, especially trying to stick with it. It does not give you immediate results. It's not a very forgiving instrument. You don't just automatically get it and all of a sudden you're a guitar player. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to put in some serious work. Give it some serious dedication. You can't just come home from school and flop in front of the TV and say, I'll get to that some other time. You have to at least every day, once every day, grab hold of that thing, give it a half hour or an hour of your attention if you're going to get something out of it, because otherwise it will eventually just sit there. You will not have learned anything. You're going to be discouraged from even trying it because you're going to think it's too hard. And, eventually it's just going to get wrecked, or you're going to get tired of it and pawn it or sell it or whatever. Depending on how far you want to go with playing guitar, it's not something you do for a little while and give up. Once you play guitar, you're probably going to be playing guitar for the rest of your life. That's the way it is for me. take care of your first guitar, man. Don't end up like I am, into 20, almost 20 plus years of playing, and I look back and I don't have that guitar that I learned on, the one that I spent so much time busting my ass with, the one that I learned how to tune my strings on, and I snapped a string and it popped me in the face, and I have a scar here on my face actually from that first guitar where a string popped and sliced me right across my cheek. It's, that's really the only thing I have to show for it. And that's really all there is to that. I'll get into some other stuff here pretty soon. I'm going to clip this one for now, get some more videos going that are a little more hands-on. So we'll talk to you soon, man.